Oh shit. Humans have continually searched for the elements. One moment. Cat had to be removed from the room. Because she will be our dinner tomorrow. No, I'm just joking. Please don't call the cat police. Okay. Humans have continually searched for the elements that make up the world since before the modern era. It is said that in ancient times, the Greeks tried explaining the world with the four elements of wind, fire, water, and earth. No, not the kitty. No, I was just joking. It's gonna be the other kitty for dinner tomorrow. And after that, over several millennia, humans added several elements to those four, trying to explain the world with several interpretations, such as the 5 elements, the 6 elements, the 7 elements, the 8 elements, and the 12 elements, but they were never able to describe the one sole truth that exists, the single element. However, a single man appeared by the guidance of a star, the hell, and finally explained the single element that makes up the world. Know what it is? Who? Shannon fearfully turned around. Oh shit. Right there, she existed. Not as an illusion, but as a reality. The contrast made by the lightning made it clear that this was no mere daydream. It's love. The witch of the portrait elegantly held a golden pipe to her mouth and giggled. She laughed at the ignorance that causes humankind's thoughts to stray from the most simple answer. That man explained everything in the world with love. That is the single element. That man fully explained how the world was constructed with the smallest possible number. How simple and clear, how splendid, exhilarating, pleasant and thrilling. The year that man was finally born is called the start of the modern era. Oh, she's talking about Jesus now. Shannon lost any words to speak. She thought that when first meeting an unknown guest, her first words should be to ask that person's name, but without saying anything, Shannon knew this person's name, because fucking portrait is right there, so she refrained. No, surely it would be the greatest disrespect for someone who lived or worked on this island to ask this woman her name. After all, she was the other master of this island, besides Kinzo. Beatrice-sama. Indeed. I am Beatrice. She just appear here? She did. Golden Witch who lived for 1,000 years. She surpassed legends of humans like demons or something over here in response to the summons made by humans to offer her power in exchange for a prize. She likes black tea and ice cream. Oh, I remember I've read this before and I was a bit thrown off by the ice cream in there. Even after 1,000 years, I see that people still always give me that look when we first meet. The witch giggled at how Shannon's reaction didn't betray her expectations. Shannon realized that she had met with a being that mustn't be met with, and she took a step backwards. Guess it's a bit too late for that now. That's where the wall and the portrait were, so even as she gazed at the witch's portrait was touching her back. The source of your troubles is love. Love, the single element that makes up this world. In other words, it is everything in this world. When it is lacking, then your world is lacking too. It is no different from scooping water into a canteen with a hole in it. Even if you scoop and scoop, that eternal desert of the heart never fills. It is the original sin that humans are founded upon and everything is made of. Understand? When Adam and Eve put the fruit of knowledge to their lips, love is what they learned of. Because of that, humans were chased out of the garden and became fully human, which means that knowing love and suffering is what makes one human. You kind-hearted child, you ought to be praised. Now that you have gained this knowledge, you are no longer furniture, you are now human. I recognize that was all the authority of my name. What's wrong with me loving ice cream? I don't judge you eating cats. Said Usiromiya Beatrice in the chat. Yeah, no, I don't judge you for eating ice cream or loving ice cream. I almost got ice cream myself today, but yeah, why didn't I? I should have. We have some great ice cream here where I live. And I don't eat cats, damn it. Or do I? Is it hard for a common person to understand? Very well, then. I'm not gonna do her cackling, by the way. Forgive me, it has been a long time since I have spoken with a human. Allow me to apologize for my talkativeness. No, just keep on talking. I find it very interesting. Without waiting for a reply from Shannon, Beatrice laughed pleasantly for a while. Perhaps this isn't much by way of an apology, but I would be willing to grant that wish of yours with my power if you so desire. Huh? The meaning of those words surprised Shannon even more than the witch's sudden appearance. I am offering to bring you and the one you love together. Normally I would demand something of equal value in return. However, I am in a good mood today, and you have never failed to pay your respects to me in the past. That is something you worth rewarding. Is that true? Normally Shannon would have been shocked and struck dumb by this seemingly impossible guess. However, almost as though she was already under the witch's spell, Shannon responded. With my magic, it would be no trouble at all to arrange for you to be joined with the one you love. Yes, of course, Shannon almost said that without thinking, but held back with the last bit of common sense. After all, this is a witch. A sinister being. The witch Beatrice is clearly trying to slip in through the cracks in my heart and take me prisoner. That sort of temptation which so many fairy tale picture books warned me about when I was young is right in front of me now. Fear is also a form of respect. It may be pleasant for me, but we will make no progress this way. I may not differ much from the image of a detestable witch that you hold in your mind. However, I do bestow my favor upon those who respect me. Aren't humans the same? Well, I doubt any human would bestow a favor upon one with such a hostile attitude. My apologies. I didn't mean... Shannon eventually realized how rude she was acting towards this guest, and she finally digested the words that had been spoken to her a short while ago. You are no longer furniture. Now you are human. As she reflected upon those words, Shannon felt as though the witch understood all her worries. What was that, just now, about a reward? I say that I can arrange for you to be joined with a man who has captured your heart. Think of it as a sign of my gratitude for your diligence in polishing my portrait day after day. Calm yourself, I asked for nothing in return. I am generous. However, though I asked for nothing in return, I do have a request. Well, then, how are you asking for nothing in return if you have a request? Isn't that asking for something? Look, here it comes. Part of Shannon's heart sent her a warning. This is what all those scary picture books she'd read when she was little had warned her about. Okay, she asked her to destroy the mirror. But why, I wonder? Do you know of the small torii and shrine that have been constructed on the ocean very near this island, which you can see when you gaze at the cliffs? Shannon immediately remembered it. When you reach Rokkenjima by boat, there was a torii and a shrine on a reef that was too small to be called even an islet. I'm pretty sure Kumasawa-san told me its history, but I can't remember it well. A traveling Shugenja, a kind of holy man, had built it or prayed there or something. Yes, I know about it, but why do you bring it up? I will not explain everything, including the very basics, to one ignorant of demons. Simply put, it's causing me trouble. The truth is, there's a mirror kept inside that shrine. I want you to break it. It was quite a suspicious request. Shannon didn't know the details, but anything stored inside the shrine would have to be something sacred. And she wants me to break it? Why would a witch ask a human for help instead of doing it herself? There was no need for Shannon to speak her thoughts aloud. Beatrice responded to Shannon's reasonable doubt before Shannon could give her answer. The magical power of that mirror opposes my own. I cannot explain it well with human words. For example, let us speak of the differences between utensils. That mirror is a fork, and my power is soup. I'm laughing, but that is actually a brilliant example. You cannot drink soup with a fork, correct? I mean, I guess you could, but it would take for fucking ever. If only the resistance of that mirror were gone, I could produce a spoon ideal for drinking soup. After that, I could drink soup as I pleased and even dig my way out of a rocky prison. I could even gouge someone's eye out with it. Was that not the phrase? I don't know what you're talking about. If my poor education is to blame, I apologize. It comes down to this. If you take action and break that annoying mirror for me, I shall grant your wish as a reward. I am in quite a good mood today. You may even change your wish and receive all the gold I bestowed upon Kinzo if you so desire. What? Hold on.
What?
When she heard Shannon's words, Beatrice realized for the first time that her expectations had been betrayed.
If you have a reason, tell me. If there has been some misunderstanding, I shall resolve it. I don't really understand the reason, but up until now this island had been at peace and nothing bad has happened. So even if I don't break the mirror, the peace that has existed until today should continue into the future. Yes, you are quite right. It's just as you say. If you don't break the mirror, the same unbreakable days that have passed until now will continue into tomorrow and the next day. Why don't I give you an absolute guarantee? I shall stake my name, Beatrice, on it. The unbreakable days before this time will continue into tomorrow and the next day, and for eternity in perpetuity.
Shannon felt overwhelmed by an eerie illusion. The mirror probably existed for the purpose of restraining the witch. So if Shannon broke it, the person who stood to gain was supposedly the witch herself. And yet, Shannon felt somewhat that she had to do it for her own sake. It felt like some premise had been switched around.
I will do nothing but grant you a chance to bring your feelings to fruition. It's up to you to decide whether you'll break it or not. If you break it, I shall grant your wish. If you don't, the tomorrows that came before today will continue for all eternity. Your wish will not be granted for all time. Do you understand? Do you see what I mean?
The witch was speaking. She was pressing Shannon, saying she must break the mirror if she ever wanted to be united with George. It was a declaration that Shannon's feelings would never be brought to fruition unless she broke it.
Please, stop it. I don't want to hear something like that. It was never my goal to cause you pain. Oh well. When love leads to madness, that is when we see the true charm of humanity. Enjoy that emotion to your heart's content. However, if you wish to borrow my power, feel free to break that mirror at any time, and then you may yell my name and awaken me. I will certainly keep my promise. This way, you should have no complaints, right? I won't force you to decide right now. Easy, is it not?
Was it really such an easy thing to do? No, it certainly wasn't. To Shannon, who was burning with infatuation and worried by love, being tempted constantly and eternally with a way out was truly a cruel trial.
I won't set a time limit on that promise, but there is a time limit on the magic that can grant your wish. That limit is not of my making. The one you love will decide it himself. You see my meaning? No, I don't understand. When the one you care for finds the partner to whom he ought to pledge his love, that limit will be reached. I may be a witch, but I am no demon. I possess no magic to tear apart a pair of those who love each other.
Yeah, that's written in here. Those who remain shall tear apart the two who are close. Just remember that it sounds like this.
The one you love will soon be attending a marriage meeting, yes? You may have stronger feelings for that man than anyone else in the world. However, that doesn't mean you are the most suitable partner for him, does it? I know with whom he will be having his marriage meeting. That girl is the most suitable for Oshiromiya George in the entire world. She came from a good school, achieved good grades, and possesses both composure and thoughtfulness. She is more beautiful than you, wiser than you, more suitable than you. How could an ignorant, incompetent, uncultured girl like you be suitable? You know better than anyone. There are none less suitable than you. Even imagining that you and Oshiromiya George could be joined is sinful and foolish. Foolish. Know your place. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your education? Know your place. George is the eldest grandson, carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Oshiromiya family someday in the future. To answer to that expectation, he has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Did you really think you could snatch George away, you uneducated, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant or swine?
Oh shit.
Stop it. Don't bully Shannon. Who the hell are you?
At that time, as Shannon held her head, trying to protect her heart from the blade of Beatrice's words, Kanon ran in front of her. Kanon didn't care who this woman was. If this was an enemy tormenting Shannon, whom he loved and respected as a sister, nothing else mattered.
Kanon-kun, stay back. This person is...
It seemed Kanon also realized that the being standing before him was the witch of the portrait, and also that she was something to be feared.
I simply wished to give Shannon a chance to claim her reward, but it seems I said too much and ended up hurting her. I must apologize for that. But I shall leave behind that promise as a reward to you. If you need my power, call me at any time. I have already told you how. Well then, let us call it a night. Hostile gazes may be pleasant, but they damage your beauty, yes? Disappear. I don't know who you are, but you're threatening Shannon. Don't ever show yourself again.
Kanon's words seemed to deeply annoy the witch.
Watch your language, lowborn. I may be gracious to those who respect me, but I am brutal to those who do not.
While she still smiled, the witch's face began to twist itself. Then an oppressive feeling that couldn't be noticed with any of the five senses gradually filled the room. Even though they couldn't understand it, they immediately realized it was something terrifying. When you swim in the ocean and something large passes by in the water beneath you, you want to escape to land even before you learn what it is. That's exactly what this was like.
But please stop, Beatrice-sama. Kanon-kun is still a child. I apologize for his language.
Kanon placed his body between the witch and Shannon. There was tense sweat on his forehead. At that time, the witch certainly had Kanon's fate in the palm of her hand. She didn't even need to lift a finger. She held a grasp on his fate so tight that a single twist of her smile could easily crush it. Kanon understood that as well. So he started sweating. His knees felt weak. However, Beatrice abruptly released that feeling of tension and laughed.
Very well. If you ask, I will forgive you just this once. Kanon, is it? In deference to her, I shall forgive you tonight and send you off. You ought to thank me. Well then, let us call it a night. In parting, I shall leave you with a small souvenir. Hold out the palm of your left hands, you two.
When Beatrice grinned broadly and snapped her fingers, the left hands stretched out in front of them against their will and their palms opened. It was a strange sensation, as though only their left hands now belonged to someone else. It felt like only their left hands had become puppets, which were being pulled by strings hanging down from the ceiling.
What are you trying to do?
Kanon resisted, but he couldn't retract his hand of his own free will.
Don't struggle. It will be over soon.
Uh-oh. When Beatrice held her pipe aloft, a gold-colored sparkling dust came out of the smoke and hovered in the air. That sparkle eventually became several gold butterflies. The beautiful butterflies danced freely throughout the reception hall, forming a fantastical and beautiful world, and two of those butterflies alighted to the palms of Shannon's and Kanon's hands.
Oh,
ouch! There was a sharp pain as though they had been burned when the two of them tried to examine their palms. That hold on their bodies, which had been there a second ago, had gone without a trace.
A mark? What is...
There was now a tiny burn mark on the palm of her hand, and it was shaped like a butterfly.
What is this supposed to be?
Apparently Kanon had the same mark on his hand. He stared at the witch hatefully.
A simple greeting. I have no hidden motive. It is nothing more than a bruise, so it will heal in just a few days. There's not even any need to care for it. I made that mark so that tomorrow you will not forget that I truly was here, and that I made a promise with you. An encounter with me can be quite shocking. Sometimes, when the next morning comes, people try to think of such an encounter as a dream or an illusion. You ought to consider this slowly and carefully, Shannon, and you should probably take a good rest. Look at my mark tomorrow morning, and try considering it again. I shall not coerce you in any way. You should freely decide your future by your own will. Still, to think that one could obtain the object of their desire for such a small price. Surely this would annoy to no end the great artists who write plays about blighted love. Well then, let us meet again when the chance arises. How entertaining it is to have a conversation again after so much time. Goodbye, furniture.
Yeah, Kinzo, if you had come down right now, you probably would have fainted. Beatrice's body crumbled like smoke and blew away. It was golden smoke, no, a cloud of gold butterflies. They scattered in all directions inside the reception hall, leaving a golden splash before disappearing into thin air. Always with the gold, didn't she also call herself an alchemist in her letter? When she, that letter that Maria read, she didn't call herself a witch in the letter, she called herself an alchemist, and alchemists were, trying to create gold, amongst other things, right? So, wonder if that's, somewhat related to her talking about gold and, giving gold to Kinzo and having golden pipe and speaking of the golden land. After that, only the cold silence was left. It was so silent it made both of them think they might have been daydreaming until just a moment ago. So the butterfly burning definitely makes sense. Which was why the witch had left those marks. She had done so to make it impossible for them to think of this as a daydream. As Shannon and Kanon remembered the butterfly bruises in their hands and the pain they'd felt when they'd been made, they kept standing still, stunned. And from that moment on, Shannon was tormented by days of suffering and conflict.
What? What do you mean, separate rooms? So wait, you and George Nissan stayed in different rooms on purpose? Yes. Is it really so strange?
Jessica's cheeks had been stuffed with the chocolate-coated Chinsko? What the hell is that? Chinsko biscuit that Shannon had brought as a present from Okinawa. Oh, so Okinawa stuff again. I don't know. Okay, so just to understand the timeline here, when we began the streaming today and they were at the aquarium, let's call that the present time. But it's not the present time in terms of what happened in episode 1, but if we call that present time, then I would say, or I would assume the entire scene we just had definitely took place before that. She had started developing feelings for George for the first time, and then she met the witch, and eventually she probably gave in to the whole break the mirror thing, which is also the scene we saw earlier. I think now we're back to the present time with the aquarium in Okinawa. We're not in Okinawa anymore, but we're back in that time, and she probably just came back and she's telling Jessica all about what happened there. Jessica's cheeks had been stuffed with a biscuit, and it all came flying out at Shannon when Jessica cried out. That's nasty, just picturing that. Shannon, why did you even go on a trip to Okinawa? You were even alone with George Nissan.
Well, he said there was a huge aquarium in Okinawa and invited me to go, and I like fish and stuff.
No, that's not the point. We're talking about a healthy guy and girl going on an overnight trip, right? And you're saying there weren't even any hugs and kisses? And seriously, what's up with the guy and girl staying in different rooms? Seriously, though.
As for kisses, no comment. But we did hug.
Oh, wow, good lord, probably pregnant right now.
George's son's chest was warm.
That's not the point. Jeez, why do couples like this exist? Jeez, I can't take it anymore. From Shannon's point of view, it was an incredibly happy trip for various reasons, but it looked like Jessica found their pace to be pretty irritating. For a while, Jessica chewed her present, complaining about Romans and pretending to faint in agony on her bed. Shannon and George had chosen to go to Okinawa because there was a huge aquarium there. They did this because an aquarium had given them the opportunity to start going out. Since their relationship had started at an aquarium, having their first overnight trip also to be to an aquarium must have held some commemorative value. It's like a huge commemorative... I don't know. I can say this word normally, but somehow my mouth is not working right now, and now they have to repeat it. It's like a huge commemorative turning point. And your first overnight trip, how could you not make all kinds of progress there? Seriously. But instead, you both got separate fucking rooms? A couple taking 2 single rooms? Ah, geez, seriously, what is wrong with you?
But we are both unmarried. George-san says showing restraint is good manners for a couple.
Like I said, the whole point of this overnight trip was so you could overcome that stage, right? You should be way beyond just kissing and hugging by now. But milady, I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, no, I'm sure you do.
But George-sama was a real gentleman with me until the end. That is, I mean, I also wondered if those things would happen, you know, but even though we are going out, I mean, it's not like we're married or anything. These things you seem to be expecting, should only be done after making a vow before God,
Shannon's face got bright red. She made a circle with both hands, restlessly intertwining, separating, and making heart marks with what? Apparently the dramatic progress Jessica had looked forward to hadn't happened. But it seemed to have been a very important experience for Shannon in her own way. In the end, whether Jessica was jealous of Shannon or made fun of her, it didn't change the fact that Shannon had a huge lead on her. Holy shit.
I want a boyfriend too. I can't believe you got ahead of me. Even though we promised that we'd find boyfriends at the same time, you beat me hard. You're a wonderful person, milady, so I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful much quicker than me.
Don't try to console me. Shannon, you traitor, get out. Shut up. Oh no, not again. Jessica threw several cushions at her, but midway she had an asthma attack and started to choke pretty badly. Shannon hurriedly ran over to a nearby side table and started searching around on top of it. A cute basket was placed there. Inside of it was Jessica's bronchodilator. If you have it that badly, you should just always have it on you, not place it in the room somewhere. Shannon picked it up and handed it over to Jessica. Jessica's asthma attacks always came suddenly. Because of that, she always needed to carry this medicine around. Okay, I guess she had it with her, but she just placed it there because it was annoying to have it in the pocket. She breathed in the medicine and, after a while, managed to overcome her choking as her asthma finally settled down. Shannon thought there's a good chance to leave and try to exit the room after bowing courteously. As she did, one more small cushion came flying and hit Shannon on the head. That's funny. She noticed that Jessica was on the verge of crying, half of her face buried in her last and favorite cushion. What? That face was red and meek.
Lady? Shannon, be honest with me. Is my hairdo and stuff weird?
Well, if you do this, then yes.
What are you saying? I think your hair is very beautiful. Then, are my eyes strange? Or maybe my nose? Or is it the way I talk after all? Is that why I can't get a boyfriend? Of course not. Milady, you are wonderful enough as you are. And I think your charm will keep on increasing more and more from now on.
Not just that.
But I'm the only one who can't find a boyfriend. Saku and Hina managed to get boyfriends, but only I can't. Is it because I don't have any charm after all? You know, everyone says they'll bring their boyfriends to the cultural festival, and I was so sure I'd have a boyfriend before then, so I started bragging.
Aw, you idiot.
There's no way I'll get a boyfriend. I'm the only one.
Before she realized it, Jessica was shedding huge tears. Man, Jessica didn't really feel like crying, and of course she felt like supporting Shannon's progress in love as a friend. However, as she had cheered Shannon on, her true feelings had suddenly gotten mixed in, and she couldn't help but shed tears. Shannon understood Jessica's innocent and easily injured heart. The rough style of speech Jessica usually used was all just an attempt to protect that fragile heart. As a daughter and successor to the Ushiromiya family, and as a girl isolated on Odoka and Jima, the only person she could expose her true feelings to was Shannon. I could actually imagine that there might be lots of boys who are into her, but are a bit afraid of her, because, I mean, there's always... If you have a person with such a wealthy family and such a weird, like, high position or whatever, I don't know how to best describe it, but, like, the Ushiromiya family definitely is special, so it could be that, like, some boys are into her but are afraid to approach her because of that, because they think, yeah, I'm not a rich boy, so I don't have a chance anyway. Could be another reason why she doesn't have anybody yet. Shannon understood that, so she strongly regretted acting smug, even if it was only a little.
Sorry, I'm so weird crying like this. Sorry. You're a wonderful person, milady. There's no way you won't find a wonderful man. Shannon, it's about time, right? If you don't go quickly, Genji-san and Mom will get mad. I'm just fine, so hurry up. Sorry for crying like this. I'm such a moron.
Jessica faced away, acting as though she didn't really want to trouble Shannon, waving her hand as though chasing Shannon away. Shannon took that as a sign that Jessica didn't want to be bothered anymore, bowed her head and left the room. When Shannon's footsteps disappeared into the distance, Jessica lay down on her bed, still hugging a cushion. Her expression was still a little meek, with tears in her eyes, but for the first time in a long time, she had a very, very quiet and honest conversation with her heart.
I also want to fall in love.
Well, go to the portrait. As Shannon happily watered the flower beds in the garden, she sensed someone's presence. She turned around, thinking that if one of the family had come to visit, she must greet them. But what she saw was that witch. Huh? What? Hold on. That was the last thing I expected right now. I mean, the music is just completely normal. It's a normal day, and just, bam, there's Beatrice.
It's been quite some time. How are you? Has your relationship with the one you love progressed since we met?
As Beatrice sat on the rose arch, she happily blew on her pipe. Sitting in a place like that would crush the roses, and it might have been dangerous if the arch fell over, but this was a witch after all. Showing concern for her safety was probably a waste of time.
Yes, thanks to you, it's going smoothly.
Naturally, the effects of my magic are immediate. Perhaps you feel your meeting was a predetermined fate. However, that is a mistake. Don't even think fate has anything to do with it.
I understand that.
The witch was calling attention to something. Two things, actually. First, that Shannon's relationship with George was a fate that would be absolutely impossible under normal circumstances. Second, that the power of the witch was great enough to overturn that fact. Shannon had just gotten wrapped up in those sweet days and had started believing the illusion that all fate revolved around her. But she remembered the witch's words. Originally, her relationship with George had been impossible. No, it might be impossible in the future as well.
Sorry, please forgive me. It's just like doctors. You cling to them when you're worried about your health, but after you're healed, you forget even to thank them. I've never been thanked as a witch, so I couldn't help acting a little rudely. Forgive me. The gratitude I feel has never slipped my mind. It's thanks to your power that I was able to achieve happiness, Beatrice Summer. And without that power, the fate that brought me and George Summer together would never have happened. I have never forgotten that. Sorry. It's not like I came here to bully you. Being rude is just part of my personality. Do forgive me. More importantly, I heard. So you went on a trip alone with him? I imagine it must have been quite fun. Yes, it was very, fun.
Shannon's face suddenly lit up. The witch laughed lightly as though amused by the speed of that transformation.
Already the one you care for is more than the object of one-sided love. You are a pair of lovers now. When two people are filled with love, nothing else is needed to establish a complete world. Perhaps you could call that a wonderful, ideal world. Even witches would be jealous.
Beatrice laughed pleasantly. That smile made her look as though she blessed the lovers' rendezvous from the bottom of her heart without a trace of malice. After that day, Beatrice had shown herself before Shannon every once in a while. Even now, Shannon thought of her as an unsettling being. However, she was also indebted to this person for the magic that led to her current relationship with George. So Shannon tried with all her might not to act surprised or scared.
That's right. Beatrice Summer, I bought some sweets as a souvenir from our trip. Would you, like to try some too?
Oh, you should have brought ice cream for her.
Oh? A souvenir for a witch?
It seemed that even a witch who boasted of living for 1,000 years hadn't imagined that she'd receive a souvenir from a sweet lover's trip. When she saw that surprised expression, Shannon thought of this witch as a friend for the first time. But is it safe to think of her as a friend? I wonder. Oh no, the copyright song is there again. That's a shame. I really like this song. And Well, it's not really a shame. It's not like anything really happens to my channel, but it's just, I don't know. Now whenever I hear the song, that's the first thing I think of. That's not what I want to associate with this nice song.
Oh, an Eastern cookie made from wheat flour and lard. To wrap that in Western chocolate is truly a blending of the Japanese and Western styles. The Silk Road of sweets.
Oh, that's a face she hasn't made before, I think.
What? What's so funny? Nothing. My apologies.
This witch, who surely held a terrifying power, was chomping down on sweets one after another, making it sound like a scribble, stuffing walnuts into its mouth. After a while, Shannon couldn't conceal her laughter.
A good meal. I should serve you some dolce vita from Nero one of these days. Roses are the symbol of eternal love. I believe a rose dolce would be appropriate for you now.
The witch was in a great mood, fully enjoying modern candy.
Here. I truly am grateful.
Second.
I believe you've done more than enough for me already, so I'm returning this.
The thing Shannon had softly set on the table was a gold-colored butterfly brooch.
There's no need to return it. If you continue holding that, your relationship should remain firm in perpetuity. Maybe it was the power of magic that brought us together, but I think only the two of us working together can turn that into something that lasts forever. Love and roses are the same. Too much fertilizer causes the roots to rot. Some flowers cannot be raised without hard work. In that case, do as you wish. You may wear it or keep it in a box. That is my goodwill given to you. Having you return it to me won't please me at all. My apologies. It's not what I... No harm has been done. That brooch is already yours. If you treasure that proof of our friendship, it would indeed bring me some comfort. You may hold on to it and gain its benefits, or you may keep it in a box. If you wished, you may even give it to another who is worrying about love. Or you could simply treasure it. Of course, it would pain my heart if you wasted it. According to Beatrice, she had appeared several times in the past in response to a person's summons to give them some tool imbued with magical power. However, when most people used that power to resolve their worries, they quickly grew unsettled by it, forgot their former gratitude, and threw away the tools they had been given with disgust. So it is quite rare for me to be thanked for my goodwill. In fact, this might even be the first time. The witch laughed heartily, but it looked like a sad laugh in Shannon's eyes. She herself had been like that in the past. No, maybe she was still like that now. Beatrice was definitely a witch with a strange and terrifying power. Most people probably wouldn't want to stick around her if they could help it. Surely even those who had relied on that strange power sometimes felt fear rather than gratitude as a result. It must have deeply hurt the witch to have that happen over and over. Since the time she had started thinking that way, Shannon had tried to stop being frightened of Beatrice. This was surely something that had tormented the witch for over 1,000 years. Maybe she really liked those 3 sweets. Beatrice, who normally spoke abusively, praised the black tea that Shannon served her and looked to be in remarkably high spirits. After doing that for a while, the witch and the servant grew animated in their discussion of the trip with George. The things Shannon actually knew about Beatrice were surprisingly few. First off, she was a ghost-like being who appeared in unexpected places at unexpected times, and it seemed that not everyone could perceive that she was there. Apparently, everyone has something called a wavelength, and the ability to perceive witches varies greatly among different people. Only Shannon and Kanon could interact with her enough to exchange words like this. There were a few people who could sense her presence, but most people couldn't even feel that much. From what Beatrice said, Klaus and his wife in particular had zero magical talent, and no matter how much she followed them around, they would never notice her. Once earlier, when Shannon messed up and Natsuhi got really mad at her, Beatrice had started playing around, hitting Natsuhi on the head with her pipe. I see. Oh, maybe that's why she's... Don't tell me. Is that actually why she has all these headaches all the time? I mean, that would be, fucking hilarious. I see, Natsuhi really doesn't notice a thing. But Shannon, watching that, had burst out laughing without thinking and had gotten scolded even more. Yeah, I could imagine that laughing when Natsuhi starts getting headaches as a servant is not the best thing you could do. Then, what about the master? I hear he's been doing research in magic, so I'm sure he'll be able to notice you, Beatrice-sama.
Yeah, but he's turned into like the hardcore Beatrice stalker, so maybe she's avoiding him on purpose.
Kinzo is the same. He also has a pitiful lack of magical talent. It's the blood. He has so little talent that I pity him.
As soon as they started talking about Kinzo, it felt like the atmosphere around Beatrice changed. She had spoken about Klaus and the rest's lack of magic talent as though she looked down on them. But she spoke of Kinzo in a different way. Anyone connected to the Yoshidomiya family would know about Kinzo's Legend of the Gold. According to that, Kinzo was given the gold after summoning the witch Beatrice. In other words, she must have had some kind of relationship with Kinzo.
That was because he succeeded despite having not even a scrap of talent. He kept studying by himself like mad and managed to become a magician. And that's something really incredible, right?
Indeed. The witch who usually looked down on people was uncharacteristically offering her praise. While she lambasted him by saying he had no talent, she praised his efforts.
And then the master summoned Beatrice Sama with the power of magic.
Indeed.
Well, I only answered the summons on a whim. After all, in this period where magic has long been denied, here was a man who was without a scrap of talent yet so desperate to succeed. I thought I'd drop by and poke some fun at him, and that's when my luck ran out.
Your luck ran out? Her choice of words highlighted how much of a disaster this had been for her. Shannon hesitated over whether it would be safe to continue this discussion, but Beatrice continued on her own, ignoring Shannon. I like that we're getting so much Beatrice story stuff right now. It's the last thing I expected today.
After all, his contract did have a proper format and set of rules. Various procedures were mixed up, but, well, in deference to his enthusiasm, I graciously accepted it. Then I gave him a mountain of gold. And then the master used that gold and succeeded in business and grew his wealth into what it is today? Indeed. His talent in magic was minimal, but it seems he had a knack for business and gambling. Or perhaps it was due to the bravery and madness that led him to risk everything on unreasonable bets. Madness sometimes acts as magical power.
Well, then he must be really magically powerful right now.
I see, if you look at it that way, perhaps it isn't quite fair to say he was completely lacking in magical talent.
If you... Mostly madness, yeah. Shannon felt like she was daydreaming. While everyone in the Yoshidomiya family knew the story of how Kinzo idolized black magic, summoned a witch, and received the gold, in actuality it was all rambling that no one believed in. And now Shannon was having this story confirmed by the witch herself. She felt a little flustered by this incredible secret that only she knew.
Once Kinzo gained his vast fortune, he could realize every dream that can be satisfied by objects obtainable in the human world. And in the end, he searched for the truth of this world. The truth of this world? The single element that makes up the world. Kinzo, who had gained everything one can obtain in the human world, searched for that, the final desire humans seek. The single element. She seemed to remember the witch using that word before. When Beatrice saw Shannon trying to remember what that was, she laughed bitterly, waving her hand and saying there was no need to worry. I underestimated Kinzo just a tad. I truly didn't expect him to display such power. And thanks to that, I'm in this state.
Oh, I see.
I've been soon in place on this island for several decades now, without even a friend to drink tea with.
So she's probably bound to the place now? And she wants out?
No matter whom I try to talk to, my voice doesn't reach them, and no matter where I go, I cannot do anything. Such boring decades.
As she laughed in self-derision, she tapped her teacup with her finger. It made the light sound of pottery. Shannon didn't know whether the word self-derision was really an accurate expression to describe the look on the witch's face. Shannon didn't understand everything, but she could more or less figure out the situation, and it was probably a topic that she couldn't press the witch on easily, not unless the witch started talking about it herself. To sum up everything she had said up until now, Beatrice, who had been summoned by Kinzo's magic, could not leave this island for some reason. By the way, I'm not trying to look cool, my neck is a bit stiff and I'm trying to stretch my shoulder.
But someone's magic couldn't leave this island for some reason, and she had lost her power and her form, living her days in boredom. During that time, her words had reached Shannon, who never forgot to show sincere respect for the witch. And Shannon had helped the witch regain her power, if only a little bit. You two look cool. Well, thanks, but... well, now I'm George. Now I'm getting red and flustered, and let's just go on. As a result, it was now possible for the witch to drink tea with Shannon like this. Beatrice-sama, what in the world was that mirror you told me to break? Yeah, I want to know that. Ah, that. Long ago, it seems various things happened on the islands around this area. Because of that, malignant forces gathered here and began to draw in an evil distortion. It seems a traveling Eastern magician or something built a shrine for the repose of souls and sealed them in there. That in itself has nothing to do with me, but unfortunately that magical power rested on a different foundation than mine. It created a strong interference with my magic and was extremely bothersome. Is that how it was? And I just assumed it existed only to seal you, Beatrice-sama. It was not. I was not its target. But it was a divine mirror. As a result, my power was sealed away. To use food as an example, maybe it would go something like this. Let's say the Western food I ordered is being made in the kitchen. However, when they try to set the table, the area for the guest seating is in the Japanese style with Japanese-style dishes. So the kitchen is unable to serve a plate that would be out of place. And no matter how long I wait, my Western food won't arrive. Something like that. So you destroyed the Japanese-style guest seating and returned the area to a blank state for a time. Thanks to that, the meal I had ordered was finally delivered and my power came back, you could say. However, so far, only the how do you pronounce that in English? I'm not even sure. Aperitif has arrived. I know the German pronunciation, of course, but it will still be quite some time before the main dish. As I am now, I'm even more fragile than a shoe store fairy. Shoe store fairy? The hell is that? Huh? What's so amusing? Nothing. I just thought your metaphor was pretty funny. I never would have thought to use a story about food as a metaphor for magic. I thought it a rather skillful comparison, but I certainly didn't expect it to be laughed at. I'm a bit offended. A slightly sulky expression rose to the witch's face. It wasn't a strange expression at all to be appearing on the face of some friends as they enjoyed their tea. I just realized I haven't saved it all today. I mean, it's not like a game where I can lose or anything, but the computer can always crash, so let's save it. Also, I was wondering if there was a way to just look at the picture without the text for a second. And this works. What is clear? What does clear do? I'd rather not click that. Although I may not look it, I was known for doing extremely brutal things in the past. I've gotten soft. Now I can even have a foolish discussion while drinking tea with a human. Okay, I'll click it. Oh, it does exactly what I wanted. Funny. So the only thing... I guess that wasn't very clear then. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we should just stop right now. No, we shouldn't. Although I may not look like it, I was known for doing things have gone soft now. I can even never. Yeah, okay. She was probably talking to herself. As Beatrice gazed at the seabirds tracing the horizon, she put her tea to her lips again. The clouds have come out. When the ocean loses its brilliance, it's nothing more than a grey puddle. You think so? I think the ocean is a beautiful deep blue, even when it gets cloudy. Maybe the witch noticed the deep meaning behind Shannon's words. She laughed lightly and set down her empty teacup. It seems those things buried in your eyes aren't black pebbles anymore. How is it? Do you see how it feels for furniture to be reborn as a human? Yes. I never knew the world was this kind. Since the start of her relationship with George, Shannon's face had grown brighter more often. Her smile had made everything go smoothly and had even changed her fortune. Shannon made less mistakes in her work than she had before, and the family members' opinion of her was slowly starting to change as well. Just the other day, she had been surprised when Klaus, who rarely exchanged words with her, had suddenly started talking to her. You've been wearing a splendid smile more often lately, haven't you?
Has something good happened?
No, but every day is fun, yes?
Huh. Wonderful. Goes without saying that coffee is more delicious when poured with a smile. Could I ask for that smile once more?
Yes, sir.
That had become a chance for Shannon to gain confidence in herself. Of course, it didn't go beyond her own heart, and it wasn't so big a change that anyone would notice, but she had begun to change bit by bit. Shannon understood it clearly. Knowing love was the same as gaining a soul, the same as being reborn from furniture into a human. There was absolutely nothing mistaken in Beatrice's words. By knowing love, Shannon had learned what it was to be human.
These have been unusual snacks. It was time well spent. It's probably about time for you to return to your work, so let us end our tea party now. After all, it seems a certain person doesn't like seeing us drink tea together.
Oh, Kanon, I guess.
Huh?
The witch gripped a teaspoon and flipped it with her fingers, sending it up in the air. After that, it was launched by the fingers of some invisible person and flew straight into a nearby bush. The bush shook violently and Kanon came out. It seemed he had been there for some time, watching their tea party. The spoon was gripped in his hand. If he hadn't caught it in an instant, it might have hit him hard in the forehead and caused him to start oozing blood.
Do not worry. Our tea party is over now, Kanon. How long were you there? If you had called to us, I'd have poured you some tea, too. I imagine that you didn't want to interrupt a pair of women talking, right?
Kanon kept silent, but there seemed to be a slightly hostile look in his eyes. On the outside, he acted with respect, but unlike Shannon, Kanon did not trust the witch. When Beatrice hit the table with her pipe, the tea set turned into gold butterflies, which flew upwards all at once. They then scattered in every direction, and the cleanup was already done.
It was fun, Shannon. Let us meet again if the chance arises. My magical power is still quite lacking. It's tiring even to show myself.
If you're that tired, never appear again. Kanon had said it in a small voice, but the witch seemed to have heard it perfectly. She giggled, but did not reply.
Shannon, tell me more about George at our next tea party. There are no snacks sweeter than a person's love life. See you again.
But if her power is very small right now, could she really have done all the killings? I wonder. Beatrice's body also became gold butterflies, which scattered in all directions and disappeared. It was a fantastical and beautiful scene, like a blizzard of gold leaf. For a while, Shannon quietly watched the witch's exit. Kanon approached her from behind and spoke with an expression that was drastically different from hers.
Hey, son, didn't I tell you to stay away from her? Beatrice-sama isn't that bad of a person. Yes, she might be a little shady, but
the fact that only we can see her is suspicious enough. That thing isn't human. Oh, no shit. You don't say. I mean, that should have been obvious by now.
Who knows what she might be planning? Kanon-kun, I think that's a little rude.
There was a touch of sternness in Shannon's voice, which was unusual for her. To Kanon, who knew her well, she must have sounded extremely stern. Kanon, looking excessively surprised, considering Shannon's tone, fell silent.
It's true that Beatrice-sama is different from humans. She has a terrifying power, so I think it's right for us to fear and respect her. Still, I think it's incredibly rude to despise her just because she isn't human.
I understand what you're trying to say, Nissan. You've changed ever since she gave you that brooch. It's like you're her prisoner. She brought you and George-sama together, and now you're indebted to her.
Don't say things like that.
That thing isn't human. We don't know what she's thinking. So you mustn't trust her. And we aren't humans either, Nissan. I knew it. Kanon's words grew more serious. Those words probably gouged at Shannon's heart. She bit her lower lip and hung her head. We are furniture. Even if we receive names and are treated as humans, that won't change the manner of our birth. You are no longer furniture. Those words Beatrice had given her, which had made her happiest, floated through Shannon's mind.
I am not furniture.
No, you are furniture. We are less than human. Nissan, you're just pretending to have forgotten, pretending to be human. You know that as well as I do.
I am not furniture. I'm human.
No, you aren't. We have never possessed what it takes to love or be loved. I wouldn't say that. I mean, it seems she started to love George even before Beatrice said you are now human magically or whatever. Kanon's criticisms seem to have shifted away from Shannon's meetings with the witch. Shannon picked up on that quickly. I heard from a lady. Seriously, what were you thinking? I can't believe you would go on a trip with George somewhere. You've forgotten your place as furniture. You've just been tempted by that witch, mistakenly believing that you've become human. Listen, Kanon-kun, it's true that we're furniture, lesser beings inferior to humans, but if it were possible to make up for what we lack, wouldn't that be the same as becoming human? Such a thing could never happen. No, it could. If we can do that, we won't be furniture anymore. We can become human. Ridiculous. As if you could ever do such a thing. Kanon spat those words out, but did so weakly and turned away. He was probably giving up. After all the suffering he'd undergone during those days he'd lived as furniture, his heart was firmly sealed. You can do it too, Kanon-kun. You can become a normal human. Stop it. That's the witch talking. Yes, Beatrice-sama taught me. By obtaining the single element of this world, we can become human. Or rather, nobody's human if they don't have that. That's why people spend their entire lives trying to gain that single element. I don't understand what you're saying, Nisan. I don't want to listen to ranting. Then I'll teach it in a way even you can understand. Look, see what I'm pointing at? Shannon quietly pointed at the sea towards the horizon. Kanon didn't understand what she meant and couldn't do anything except look between the horizon and Shannon's expression, which seemed to be posing a riddle. The sea. Kanon-kun, what color does the sea look to you? It was an extremely simple question. For a while Kanon tried to guess at the meaning behind it, but he couldn't think of anything, so he answered obediently. It's a hazy dark grey color, so what? Objectively speaking, the sea, laid out beneath the cloudy sky, could probably be described best by Kanon's words. But as Shannon closed her eyes and smiled, she shook her head slightly. It looks deep blue to me. Is that what you mean? Like how Japanese people use the word blue to refer to a green traffic light? No. Aoi? The sea is deep blue. If I understand and you don't, then that's the difference between us. Kanon bit his lower lip and was silent for a while. I don't understand. Kanon-kun, would you stick out your hand? As Kanon was taken aback, unable to understand what he was saying, she took his arm and opened the palm of his hand. Oh, is she giving the brooch to him now? That would be cool. Wasn't there something last time or the time before about Kanon and Jessica actually starting to like each other? Maybe that's where it started. Shannon softly said something there. It was that magic brooch which she had received from Beatrice, a magic charm shaped like a gold butterfly that could bring love to fruition. I wonder if he's actually gonna accept it, I mean, considering what he thinks of Beatrice. This is hers. No, this is mine. So think of it as me and treat it with respect, okay? After being spoken to like that, he couldn't just throw it away. I see, clever. Kanon didn't know what he should do, and he stood there confused for a while, the brooch still in the palm of his hand. Shannon put the palm of her hand on top of Kanon's, and the brooch was worn by both of their hands. This charm holds true magical power. I'm sure it'll teach you an important emotion, Kanon-kun. There's nothing to be learned from that person's magic. No, there is something. So, wear it. If that's embarrassing, I hear it's okay if you just hide it in your pocket. Ridiculous. As if I'd let the magic of that person lead me astray. Even as he said that, Kanon couldn't be cold-hearted towards something Shannon was urging him to take. In the end, Kanon took it and agreed reluctantly, saying he'd prove that he wouldn't surrender to the witch's power. Shannon smiled and nodded back. I'm sure you'll be able to learn something important from it. And I'm sure you can become human. And when you do, I'm sure this ocean will look like a beautiful blue to you as well, Kanon-kun. I mean, it does to me right now. Gray is gray, no matter how many times you look. That's wrong, Kanon-kun. It only looks like that because you have no... Okay. Why is that all asterisk? Asterisks? I mean, it's probably love. Huh? Because of the howling wind, he hadn't been able to catch the main point of what she just said. Ah, okay, I see. So Shannon said it once more. The single element of the world. She spoke once more of the world where it existed, where the sea was deep blue. I'm sure you'll be able to see a deep blue ocean too. After all, without love, it cannot be seen.